Okay, welcome back to inventRightTV. And today you're going to watch someone that has a great idea and all the steps she took to bring it to market. Okay, everybody, Stephen Key. I'm back at inventRightTV and I have a very special guest, Leeanna. Thank you for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Okay, I've been watching you with your product for a while, and I'm very fascinated by it because I think it's something that's needed. All right. And I think you know the same thing. It is needed. So could you please talk a little bit about yourself and your product?
Well, I'm Leanna. I'm based in LA, California, and my product's called TookTake. And TookTake is basically a super simple sticker. It comes in different dosing schedules, but this is our daily one. And you basically peel the sticker off, stick it on anything you need to use or take. Here's one I have stuck on a medicine bottle. And then when you take it, you just pull off the little perforated tab, and you know if you took it or still need to take it. It's like,
Okay, let's talk about this. This is a compliance aid.
yep.
Okay. Yeah. And I think everybody's aware that sometimes when we have our medications, we don't take them on time, or maybe we forget if we took them at all. So, but there's nothing to help us to really kind of manage that. And that's what your product does. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay. So tell me about your journey. Now, are you in a, I mean, you're an entrepreneur, you're an inventor now, but what did you do before that?
Yeah, I would say I'm an accidental inventor. Before that, I was a creative director in advertising. And then I got breast cancer.
Oh,
And during my treatment, I was in treatment for an entire year. Most of it, I was stuck in bed, really sick, and I had a ton of different medications to manage the side effects. And they were in all different forms. And because my symptoms were always changing, the dosing was always changing, so we had to leave everything in the bottles and packages. And a lot of them weren't pills, they were liquids or lotions or creams, but they still had really strict regimens I was supposed to follow, and I couldn't use them too often, but I needed to use them to stay comfortable. So I just started making little sticky note things to track
okay.
what we did when, because I also learned you shouldn't trust the person on the drugs to keep track of the drugs.
Okay.
My husband would come in, he's like, did you take this? I'm like, I don't know. So we came up with this little system, and over the year that I was in treatment, since we're both designers, we kept making it look better and more interesting and work better for us. And by the time we were done, I'm like, hey, this is kind of cool and it really helps. I think we could help a lot of people with this.
I love it. Okay. So you've got this idea and you want to launch it. So what do you do? I mean, I mean, yeah, what do you do?
And first, we had to find someone who could make it, and we thought, it's a sticker. How hard can it be?
Okay.
It's actually incredibly hard to make. It took us probably 5 months to find someone who'd even talk to us.
Okay.
And then we got it made. We had it made here in the States, which is awesome,
Okay.
and makes life a lot easier. And then it was packaging it and
Why
selling
was
it.
it hard to make if it was just a sticker? What was the issue?
Um, the design of it, because of the little tabs, getting really techy, like most stickers have a pretty wide tolerance. Like if you look, they're a little off center, or they've
Okay.
got
All
a
right.
like wide white
Okay.
area around them or something. With our little tiny tabs and the printing on them, we have no room for air.
Oh.
So most companies, they want you to have like a quarter of an inch, but if you chop off
Oh.
a quarter of an inch, you're going to lose half the words, or
All
the
right. So the tolerance of that adhesive,
is.
it needed to be pretty tight because where the tabs come off, there's no adhesive on the back, but there's adhesive on the other side. Is that
No,
correct?
there's adhesive on the whole thing. It's a really light tack
Oh,
adhesive.
okay.
But it's just the tolerances for most die cut things are actually pretty big. They'll tell you to stay in like quarter inch on every side because they're gonna, it shimmies as it
Okay.
cuts.
All right.
And we were like, no, 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 you can't do that. So we finally found
Okay.
one place that would do it without,
Okay.
and kind of guarantee they'd hit our marks.
So when you were doing that development for them to figure that out, did that cost you money or did they just try to work with you so they would get an order? How did that work?
Um, we paid a little bit. But they worked with us for a long time to
Okay.
try to get it right. They really were intrigued by the
Okay.
challenge.
All right.
So we got really lucky in that respect that the people we were working with were really excited about it. So they helped us.
And how did you find them? Was it on LinkedIn or just on the internet or?
We called a lot of people we knew from advertising who were in
Okay.
print production,
All
who
right.
connected us with printers. And then
Okay.
finally, I'd ask a printer who said no, like they'd look at the mechanical and just say, no, we're not going to do this. And finally, I asked someone why, and they told me. So then I could go to the next place and say, here's my issue with this.
Oh,
Would you talk to me about this? And a lot of them would say no. And then finally, we found someone who said, send it over.
okay.
Let me see what I can do for
All
you.
right. Okay. So when you ordered your first round, it's probably pretty expensive because once they start the press. So how many do you order or you have
We
to order? I mean,
Another reason we got lucky is they were testing out a new like laser cutter, so
okay.
we could order in batches of 50, which is
Oh,
like unheard of. So I
okay.
because our first run when we actually ordered the dies, we had to order like 10,000. So
Okay. Okay. So, okay, so you have your product. It looks pretty good. You got all the technical stuff out of the way. What do you do next?
um well, I thought then you just call stores and say, "Hey, I have this thing you're gonna really want. Like, how many do you want to order?" Um, it doesn't work that way, as you know. So,
Okay, why not? Wait a minute, wait a minute. Why doesn't it work that way?
oh, first I didn't know who to call, and then like I'm on LinkedIn and I'm like, I'll call the president of CVS because they'll tell me why not. Just go to the
Okay,
top. Um, that's not how it works. They
okay,
don't want to talk to you. So I finally reached out to someone on LinkedIn. I
okay,
just started reaching out to people who'd been on Shark Tank who had products and just said like, "Hey, I have this product and I don't know what to do." And
okay,
like and they told me about category managers and how how to do the outreach, and
okay,
I just started doing that.
okay. So you're reaching out to these guys. It's not easy to do. Buyers are
No.
not easy. Even if you
No.
got the right category, they're still not easy. They're like this, leprechaun. Where are they? Okay, so once you get a hold of these guys, how do you make the pitch? Is it done through an email or a Zoom call like this, or how do you do the pitch for them to see your idea?
A lot of the time, I started on LinkedIn, sending a message, just kind of telling them my story. It's like, hey,
Okay,
I invented this during my cancer treatment. I think it'll help a lot of people. Here's the advantages. It's no tech. It's for all ages.
got it.
Most stuff targets the elderly.
Okay,
It comes in 4 different dosing designs, which helps people who have to take things as needed or just short term for antibiotics where they're not going to buy a pill box. I tried to keep it as concise as I could, just highlighting in bullet points like the top 5 strengths of the product. I said,
okay,
"Hey, can we set up a call?" And surprisingly, some of them wrote back to me and said, "Yeah, let's have a call."
okay. All right. So you're finally getting in. What happens next? Do they just write you an order? How does that work? Okay.
No, they make you fill out a ton of forms that are really confusing, especially the first time because they use a lot of acronyms that I had no idea what they were.
Okay.
Um, And yeah, it takes for retail, like when we got in CVS, it was like I think 11-month lead. So nothing's fast. Like, because we
Okay.
talked to them after they had just closed their orders for that year. So we had to wait almost a year
Okay.
before
So
our onboarding.
so you have to hit the timing right, but you have to become a vendor too, right?
You have to become a vendor and go through, they have things there, they check your where you're made and make sure your standards or
Okay.
meet their standards and
So how does okay, just so everybody realizes it's not easy to do and it takes a long time. How long was it before that first contact for them to get in their system to have it?
that took probably 3 or 4 months.
Okay. So it
Like
takes
they
okay.
sent the paperwork right away after the call, but then it
Okay.
took them forever to get it through their system. There's a like CVS in particular has like a really elaborate systems.
Okay.
Um, some smaller pharmacies I work with, it is much faster and a
Much
little more
easier.
direct.
Okay, so are they currently on the shelf? Or are they online, or how can people find it?
The best place is TookTake.com, our website.
Okay.
We're still in CVS. We've pulled out of a lot of retail. Um, we're in small local pharmacies and we're in CVS online and on Amazon.
Why'd you pull out of some of the smaller guys? What was the reason?
We stayed in the smaller guys. We're pulling out of the bigger places. Uh,
Funny, I've heard that before. Why is that?
Um, a lot of it is it's really it's time consuming to maintain the
Okay.
whole process with them. It's really expensive. When when there's a problem, we don't get paid for a really long
How
time.
long? How long?
Um, like our first orders from CVS got caught in some internal confusion on their end, and it took us like 4 months, but we had to pay for our order in 30 days to our vendors,
Okay.
and we didn't get paid for 4 months, so that
So that
created a little issue.
so that's the float. That's what a lot of people don't understand, that the retailers typically it could be 60, 90 days. Yours was a little bit longer because it's something messed up. But you manufacture it,
Yeah.
you ship it, you have to pay for the product, but now you're waiting for the retailer to pay you. That's the float
Yeah,
game. Is that a lot of money to float? A little money.
it was a lot, especially for us. It was a whole lot of money.
Okay.
Um,
That's not easy. Okay.
and we had an amazing team there helping us working it out, but it's still there's at a certain point they have their system, and the bigger they are, the more of a system they have, and it's slow,
Yeah.
and there was nothing anyone could do, and we had everybody helping us, and
Okay.
it still took forever.
It's still hard. No, the float game, it's not easy, and you still need to have inventory if they order again too. So
Hmm.
yeah, so it gets complicated. What have during the whole process? What's the biggest thing you've learned through the whole process?
And the biggest thing I've learned is I like coming up with ideas, and I don't like running a company.
Wow.
I love my product.
Okay.
I wasn't someone who's like, I want to be a CEO and run a giant company. I just kind of, that's why I say I was an accidental entrepreneur. I was like, this looks like fun. And now that I've been doing it, I'm like, not as fun as you would think.
Well, I hear that quite a bit, Leanna. That it, it's not easy to do. Number one, and number two, I just want to come up with ideas. I feel the same way. I feel the exact same way. So let's talk about one last thing: protection. Okay, what do you do in terms of protecting it? What type of IP do you have, or do you have any at all, or do you even care?
We have a really strong patent.
Okay,
Because we thought when we first designed it that because it was a sticker, it would be super easy to copy. We didn't know at the time
okay,
how hard it was going to be to actually make it.
okay,
But even with that, like we did get a patent, and we've had some people look at it who were interested in buying it, and we thought they'd really just want to look at the patent to see if they could break it.
okay.
And they were like, this is incredibly strong. So we have a really good
Oh,
patent,
okay.
and then we have trademarks on the logo and design, name, and everything.
All right. So that costs money. So the whole thing costs a little bit of money to do all this,
Hmm.
doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Where do you get the money? Do you get funding, or do you borrow it, or you save it? How do you get all the money to do this?
We invested the money ourselves for the patents and
Okay.
trademarks. Um, and yeah, everything's just been bootstrapped. We
Okay.
didn't get investors. You have won a few pitch contests here and there for a little
Okay.
bit of money, which helps.
Okay. So we're going to have information down below so people can find it, they can buy it. Thank you so much for coming on and telling your story. I think it's important for people to learn. Sometimes there's a few bumps in the road along the way. Okay. All right. So what? That's kind of the way it works. But Leanna, thank you very much for coming on Invent Right TV.
Thanks again.
Okay, you've got a great product idea and you're not quite sure what to do, or maybe you've got inventory in your garage because you were selling your product on Amazon and you don't want to continue doing it, but you want someone to help you license your idea to a company to bring it to market for you. We have a new program that's called Gateway, where we do all the work for you. We'll find the right companies and the right people to make sure your product is pitched correctly to get the licensing deal. This new program is called Gateway. If you're interested, please check it out.